Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries laugh to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgive. Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower class and social slide, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. See their shit, force a bear. Fuck them back, it's only fair. They bomb, they shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape. They burn the kids, no one makes countries laugh to your face, fight and die, 'cause God forgives. Yeah. Coming back around again. Yeah.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat, a.k.a. Game On. I will get that freaking thing loaded up. I've been so busy. I have the best intentions of redoing that banner, and never seem to get to it. Anyways, my neighbor passed away. And it's too bad we all couldn't be like her in a way. She passed away just a few days before her 101st birthday, and was still living at home up until 2 days before she passed away. She had a stroke, but absolutely amazing lady, you know. She had her act together. She wasn't a sheep. 100-year-old non-sheep. Never been a sheep her entire life. She read the good book, understood right from wrong, and took no crap from nobody, no time, nowhere, no how. This lady didn't put up with nonsense, and she would call your nonsense out real quick. If you tried to go there with her. So, you know, I remember, I've said this about her before. She fell down when she was 99. She went out in the back deck, which was, you know, a paving stone deck, and over the years, some of the bricks lifted a little bit here and there, kind of toe trippers, and she tripped over one and did a header. Oh, geez, I remember how that must have felt. And, you know, I heard her across the fence, and I heard her daughter across the fence, and I went over, and she's holding a towel over her head, and there was a dish there, a salad bowl, you know, big steel one, you know, fairly full of blood, and I was real worried about her, and went and got her pillow and a blanket and that, and she was talking the whole time, and she just wanted me to help her up, and I said, no, but look at this, she cracked herself pretty good. So, you know, the ambulance came and the people came, and they tried to pull their empathy card nonsense, and she sees through phony real fast, and or stupid real fast, and all she wanted them to do was get her up so she was planning on walking on up the ambulance. She's 99 at the time, and so I was walking my mom's dog one night, and coming around the block, and her daughter was out in the deck and asked if I could wait because her mother wanted to thank me for helping her. And so I hung around, asked how she's doing. She's doing fine. And this is like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks after the fall. And she had 2 scars across her forehead. She got 2 runs of stitches there. But I'm talking to her. She said, she said, you wanted to thank you? Said, you don't have to thank me. And I said, all I want to know is how you doing, right? And here's this lady, 99 years old, lifts her leg up and fist pumps the air and says, I'm 99 and I'm doing fine. And we should all aspire and hopefully be that healthy that long. But what inspired me the most about her is that she was no sheep. She was intelligent enough to see a con job when it was coming at her. And now we've just turned into this. Well, as Brzezinski said, didn't he? He said it'll take 2.5, 3 generations to basically mess your minds up so bad that you're putty in our hands. And it seems to be that his prediction has come true because the whole scene is gone stupid. Here's a story. Now, Michael Schmidt was in court. When was he in court? Yesterday, I guess. Down in Peterborough, which is a hell of a long drive from where he lives, and this is over the sheep napping. And there's no evidence that Michael or the owner of the sheep or anybody else who was charged had anything to do with the damn sheep. What happened was that the Ministry of Stupidity wanted to put this lady's heritage sheep down because it had scabies or some stupid thing, scabies or whatever they called it. And she said, well, I don't have any evidence of that. You don't have any evidence of that. So what we'll do is we'll just keep them quarantined. And they said, well, no, they have to be dead for us to get a brain sample. And so she really loved these sheep. I mean, she's a really dedicated farmer. And another one of these organic, normal, natural farmers, which the government absolutely hates with a passion. As Kissinger said, control the food, control the people. So they don't want anybody getting their hands on real food. And anyways, this was a heritage sheep, and I don't know if there's any even left after they put them all down. And she eventually said, well, all right, put one down and see what you find. And if there's nothing in that one, then you can pretty much assume that the rest of them are fine. But no. They want to knock them all down. And then all of a sudden the sheep disappeared. And now we have Dick Tracy of the government out looking for sheep. And I don't know, they eventually found the sheep and charged Michael Schmidt, who they've been chasing around for 23 frickin' years now. They're almost 4 years into this nonsense of the sheep. Montana looks pretty tired. She just doesn't want none. Like I saw in a video yesterday, she just said, I'm done with this. I don't want nothing to do with this no more. I just want to go back and get my life back. They basically destroyed her life for basically 4 years now. Well, actually, it started 6 years ago when they started hassling her about the sheep. And so that's taken a big toll on her. Michael, he was at a supposed trial last Friday, and now they didn't come up with a judgment again, so now they're sending him to Newmarket, Ontario. In 3 weeks, he's got to be there. They got to be back in, where are they going after that? Or no, he has to be back in Walkerton in September to possibly find out what they're going to do with the charges for stealing cameras, of which he had nothing to do with. They're just throwing paper everywhere up in this neck of the woods. And costing people fees, a lot of travel time, and all this kind of thing. And then we see a story like this. Bob Paulson apologized for egregious behavior nudity at the RCMP bomb school. Now, how friggin' ludicrous a world are we living in? RCMP Commissioner Bob Paulson is apologizing to victims and witnesses for egregious behavior at one of the Mounties' top training facilities. CBC News has learned the force has also removed Chief Superintendent Marty Chesser, commanding officer of the force's national headquarters, from his post. The apology comes in a long-awaited internal report into the allegations of harassment, sexual misconduct at the explosive training unit at the RCMP Canadian College in Ottawa. The RCMP accepts all the findings and has already drafted a plan on how it intends to implement 28 recommendations. Well, you don't need recommendations. You're supposed to be the premier police force in the country, and you're hanging out at a bomb training school, running around naked. You don't need any recommendations. You need your ass fired is what you need. Now, what did Michael do? He hasn't done nothing. What did Montana Jones do? She didn't do nothing. They've been dragging from Michael 23 years, Montana Jones for 6. Haven't done a damn thing. The courts have no evidence, or the state has no, the province has no evidence whatsoever that these people were involved in anything that they're saying they're involved in. And here we got the commissioner of the RCMP apologizing for this lewd behavior going on at the bomb school. And so the RCMP accepts all the findings, has already drafted a plan on how it intends to implement the 28 recommendations. The force is committed to making more than 24 reforms, including significant changes to how it investigates and disciplines employees, as well as a national initiative to eradicate sexual misconduct in the police agency's workplace. The review of what happened at the college followed CBC News reports about rampant nudity, allegations of sexual harassment, bullying, and other disgraceful conduct at the school for bomb technicians, for crying out loud. At the end of February, Paulson asked Assistant Commissioner Steve White to lead the review. The results shared with CBC News detailed a historically dysfunctional workplace where employees felt they couldn't complain about mistreatment without risking retaliation and being labeled rats. The review team found a long string of unacceptable failures in the leadership of the RCMP management, the disciplinary system, and human resources practice. Specifically, the investigations and process related to these events were fraught with missed opportunities to effectively deal with misconduct, protect the victims and witnesses, and heal the workplace. It is for all these reasons that the RCMP commissioner and the RCMP as an organization sincerely apologize to all who were negatively impacted, the report says. Walking around the office naked is a headline here. Despite 2 previous investigations of disturbing behavior at the school, this new inquiry has turned up new allegations, including bullying, intimidation, harassment, and new allegations of unwanted sexual touching. According to the document, the first complaint was made on April 15, 2014. One of the explosive instructors spoke to a manager about several instances where Staff Sergeant Bruno Solsmine and Marco Calandandria, a civilian member of the RCMP, also a former Canadian Forces Joint Task Force member, were nude at work during office hours. The complainant also said Cal Lorindi sent another instructor a photo of his bare ass. White and his team learned that management decided not to immediately suspend him, the two, because the complainant had gone on sick leave. That decision has had repercussions. Their presence during the ongoing investigation served to raise the level of toxicity that existed at the explosive training unit. Witnesses alleged that they were bullied and intimidated by Staff Sergeant Solzman and Caladini during this time. The review team found that during the period in early 2014, the victims and witnesses were also not entirely forthcoming. Although they detailed acts of harassment, bullying, and nudity, they did not reveal further allegations that would later surface, including allegations of sexual touching, due to embarrassment and fear of reprisals for being labeled as rats, the report says. Now, in December 2014, the Adjudication Board docked Solzmeen and Calandria pay for 7 and 5 days, respectively, and ignored a recommendation of commanding officer Chester that Calandini receive professional counseling. Yet around the same time, the RCMP launched a second investigation after another employee alleged that Calandini had subjected him to unwanted sexual touching. The review found that during this new inquiry, several new allegations of misconduct came to light against only Calandini and another instructor. Neither management nor commanding officer of the national headquarters ordered expanded or further investigations into these allegations, reads the report. As a result, the most recent new review, however, all three are now subject to an ongoing conduct investigations. As learned, the third person is Sergeant Regan Douglas, who is the RCMP's first female bomb technician. Despite establishing that Cardini had improperly touched his colleague on 3 separate occasions, receiving advice from a top human resources manager to fire the instructor, commanding officer Chester decided to order the forfeiture of 15 days' pay. That decision was never shared with the victim. The sergeant returned the victim's last. Meanwhile, in August 2015, a merger inside the RCMP meant that Celestine returned back to the workplace where he had caused so much grief. Canadian Police College senior management did not communicate Staff Sergeant Celestine's return to the victims ahead of time, and when Staff Sergeant Solzmeen returned unannounced, the victims remaining in the unit immediately left on indefinite leave from the workplace. White and his team also found historic allegations of inappropriate behavior that predate the arrival of Solzmeen in 2012 and Calandini in 2008 and caused other victims or witnesses to leave the unit. There appears to have been a lack of oversight of the small specialized unit for several years, says the report before recommending management review. Last week, the news reported that RCMP removed Sergeant Harold O'Connell from his post as Director General of the Canadian Police College. The decision to remove Chester was announced internally Wednesday. According to a transfer notice, his new job will be to coordinate the police force's open government initiative. Even the guys didn't get fired. The force has also launched a process to fire Calandini. As for Solzmeen and Douglas, the review says investigations are ongoing. Call for transparency. RCMP has already begun to prioritize disciplinary hearings for all cases of sexual misconduct, and this fall, the RCMP says it will roll out a month-long education and awareness campaign that will encourage the reporting of bad behavior while also addressing the fear of reprisals. Among the report's other findings and recommendations, despite asking for and receiving advice from one of the RCMP's top human resources officers to fire Calandini and Solzmeen, Chester never sought to dismiss the two men. White and his team suggest top managers should explain why they decided not to follow that kind of recommendation. The RCMP must immediately engage in a national initiative to eradicate sexual misconduct in the workplace. When an employee is suspended or resigned following complaints of harassment, they should not be permitted to contact potential witnesses. Management must make the harassment and disciplinary process more transparent to complainants, witnesses, and the public. Due to confusion between managers at the college and the national headquarters over who was responsible for disciplining instructors, White and his team recommended a review of existing command structure. That just makes me want to puke. Now, this same RCMP, they've killed numerous people that didn't deserve to die. One of their famous deals was the tasering to death at the Vancouver airport of, I think he was a Polish immigrant, or a Polish guy who didn't speak English or whatever. I remember reading a story of them coming into a hospital room in Vancouver where there was an 80-some-year-old man laying in bed, and he had a penknife, probably to whittle with or clean his fingernails with. I mean, that was standard gear. It still is standard gear for a lot of people. My dad always had a jackknife. You never know when you need one. Handy little thing. And so there's an 80-some-year-old guy laying on a bed in Vancouver hospital. RCMP come in because somebody had called in that he had a knife, and this will be like probably 2.5, 3-inch blade, if that, probably close to 2-inch, 2.5-inch blade. And what do? They come in and taser the snot out of this old guy. Or they are never responsible for anything, okay? And that's the beauty of it, because they are irresponsible, because they are government. Government is irresponsible. The government and its government actors, you go through this stuff, they're immune to this, they're immune to that. They're irresponsible. In other words, they aren't liable to the legal system. Where you, on the other hand, who are supposed to be the irresponsible party, because the legal thing only is it's commercial, it's commerce, has nothing to do with the average person. But what they do, they flip everything upside down all the time. That's why we got to rock the boat. They're supposed to be the responsible party. They dump the responsibility on us. They made us liable. They make us chargeable. They make us dutiful, and so on and so forth. Okay? So they always run around. They beat the shit out of people. They drag people in and out of court, and people suffer. These clowns, on the other hand, seem to be able to do whatever the hell they want. You would treat a child a lot more severely than what these RCMP are being dealt with here. 5-day pay, 15-day pay suspension, and a call for transparency, and that we should try to be more responsible. Piss off with that. Here's another really pathetic story. A guy on an e-bike. Okay, that was the RCMP. That was the premier bomb squad guys. Okay, and they even had somebody involved in it from the forces. So here now you have a guy minding his own damn business, driving down the road on an e-bike. And a cop hands him $11,000 in fines. That's right, 11 grand in fines. This is in St. Catharines, Ontario. Niagara Falls man spent 6 months with more than $11,000 worth of fines hanging over his head after being stopped by police while riding his e-bike last November. His crime? A broken pedal. I was on my way home from Project Share and minding my own business, said Ebro, 56, who volunteers at a number of charitable organizations. I was at the intersection at Bridge and Stanley. My light was an advanced green. I went with the light. I was going about 20 kilometers an hour and approaching Morrison Street, and I noticed a blue car follow me. It was an unmarked car. They're pretty easy to pick out, he says. He put his lights on, and he pulled me over. The officer said I went through a red light. I said, no, I didn't. Then he said, where is your pedal? He will try to explain to the officers that the plastic part to fix the pedal was on order and due any day. He even called the owner of the e-bike store on his cell phone from the scene to confirm it. The police officer didn't care. He wasn't interested in hearing from the e-bike shop owner. He handed Ebro 4 tickets. He just went to town on me, Ebro said. I thought it was totally wrong. The real kicker came when he said, by the way, your bike is getting towed. I had to pay impound $360 to get it back. Now, the police, at least when I got my truck towed 5 miles, I got a bill of $250. And how the hell it cost $250 to drive to haul the truck 5 miles? And the tow truck driver explained when we were bringing the truck home that the cops took half of it. Okay, it's commercial. Okay, it's a commercial enterprise these guys are running, and they're stealing from everybody. Anyway, so I was left standing there by the side of the road and wondering what the heck was why he was doing this to me. Cash. He was in more trouble than he realized. When he went to traffic court in St. Catharines to find out the details on the charges, he learned the fines totaled more than $11,000. I went to get my disclosure, and I said to the court lady, this has to be wrong. It must be a typo. I thought it has to be like $1,000, not $11,000. I told her. It was nuts. I was flipping through the papers like crazy and wondering what the heck was going on. The largest fine, $10,000. Remember, this guy's on an e-bike doing 20 kilometers an hour with a busted pedal. The largest fine, $10,000 for not having insurance on a vehicle. But you don't need insurance or a driver's license to run an e-bike in Ontario. There was another one for almost $1,000 for driving with a suspended license. You don't need a license to drive an e-bike. His license was suspended in 2011 for unpaid fines, he said. The court documents confirmed that. Police also charged him with running a red light. The officer just created all of this havoc for me and then let the court sort it out. That's the problem right there. That's the biggest damn problem. These guys go out there and hammer people with paper, and then it goes in the system, okay? And it's got to work its way through the system. And every time you go there, somebody's making a buck off of you. They're not responsible for what they did to you. You're responsible. You're the responsible party. They make you the responsible party. So we got these RCMP cops running around naked, playing with each other in the bomb unit, in the premier bomb unit. I didn't know we had more than one. Didn't know we needed one. And then this poor bugger going home or wherever he's going to, doing 20K on an e-bike, is standing there with $11,000 worth of fine. Now, any intelligent man, but then the IQs of the police, and they're looking for anything now. I mean, they're so cash hungry now, they're looking for anything. I was talking to a lady in Alberta, and she was saying that it's getting nuts there in Edmonton. If you talk to your passenger or your passenger talks to you, they'll pull you over and give you a distracted driving charge. I mean, it's getting out of hand completely out of hand. So anyway, so he's got $11,000 worth of fines. So then he goes, he can't believe this crap's happening to him. I went around to some lawyers. No lawyer wanted to touch it for less than $2,000. Everybody's there to make a buck off you. I didn't qualify for legal aid because all the Crown wanted was 3 months probation. $2,000 is a lot for me. I read the officer's report and I found all these discrepancies. He didn't put that I was on Morrison Street, that I had advanced green light. I don't think it was right for him to say it wasn't an e-bike because the pedal was broken. Armed with a sworn statement from the owner of the e-bike store that the pedal was on order when police stopped him, a binder full of paperwork and photos of the intersection and his e-bike. Ebrill represented himself in court. He ended up winning using his own homespun charm. On June 1st, Justice of the Peace Nancy Rogers Bain agreed with him and tossed out all the charges except for one, failing to notify the Ministry of Transportation he had changed his address. That fine was for $75. Okay, this is so pathetic. None of their damn business where you live. Doesn't have a license anyways. I was nervous, Ebrill said. I was afraid I was going to get crucified. I'm not a lawyer, but I figured I was doing the right thing and that it would carry me through. I was going to stand up for myself. When the justice initially gave her verdict, Ebrill thought he had lost. She was using technical words, and I had to ask her what was happening, he said. She looked at me and said she was dropping the charges, except she was going to nail them on the one. It was a relief. I was impressed with the judge. She helped me along. She said, it's so ludicrous, right? What are you going to do? But anyways, down here it says the Traffic Act does not classify e-bikes as motorized vehicles. You don't need a driver's license or insurance. The cop knows that. He knows that. But you're supposed to have the pedals on it, okay? So that that's how the government's trying to push anything electric, okay? So they're pushing these e-bikes saying you don't need insurance or a license if it doesn't go faster than such and such, and it's still classed as a bicycle. It's an electric assisted bicycle, so therefore it has to have the pedals on it to classify as a bicycle. Again, totally ludicrous. And it can't go over a certain speed. So you won't need a driver's license insurance. The bike must have pedals and can't go faster than 42K. The driver must be at least 16 years old and wearing a helmet. Problems occur when someone removes the pedals. The e-bike no longer conforms to the Highway Traffic Act definition of a power-assisted bicycle. The officer in the Crown believed that since the pedal was broken, the e-bike was a motorized vehicle, in essence, a motorcycle. And Ebrel needed a license and insurance. The justice disagreed. Well, good for that justice. But the Crown and the cop should have been charged for stupidity. There's no way that them charges should have been laid on this guy, but this kind of garbage goes on every single day, all day long. Meanwhile, over at the RCMP camp, these guys are getting away with bloody murder, and they don't get a $10,000 fine. They don't get a punch in the head. They get a 5-day holdback on their paycheck. I mean, it's absolutely criminal. Now, speaking of criminals, I was talking to Law Society of Upper Canada today, and just trying to verify some stuff. And this is trying to catch, like, trying to hang on to a greased pig. And I had talked to them in the past about the fact that the justices of the peace ain't lawyers, and it says on the Law Society's page you can't practice law without a license. And I said this the other day. It's on that paperwork where the justices are forbidden from giving legal advice. What's the exact wording of this thing? It says that justices of the peace are prohibited from giving any advice about your rights, nor can they give you any type of legal advice, opinion, or guidance. Okay? Opinion is what the court has. It's in the opinion of the court that you're guilty of whatever. That's what the courts have. They have opinions, but they can't have an opinion because, well, they're not lawyers. And this is the other problem. We have the law, we have the lawyers working with the police, working with the attorney, working with the prosecuting attorneys, working with the judges, working with the justices. It's a three-ring circus. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, when I was talking to the Law Society today, it's like nobody knows what's going on, right? I talked to the Attorney General's office. They can't tell me this. They can't tell me that. They don't know this. They don't know that. I talked to the Premier's office. According to the Premier's office, the Premier, this would be like your state governor, if you're down in the States, is responsible for nothing. Okay, there we go again. They're irresponsible. They're claiming themselves to be irresponsible, but they're irresponsible. They're not bound to the legal system, even though they are the legal system. They bind everybody else to it because that's how they extract your money from you, your labor from you. That's how they write this nonsense, and then you can't do this and you can't do that. Only they can do this and they can do that. They can go and punch you out because they have the monopoly on force. They have the monopoly on law, which of course is not law. It's a monopoly business, you know. There isn't a mafia group that wouldn't just love, and that's what they're based on. That's what they're based on. So all the police, all the judges, the military, the RCMP are all classed as employees of the Queen, who doesn't reside here, doesn't sit in the legislature here, but she's the head of state. And so these people are all immune from everything. I guess it goes the same as the Queen doesn't need a driver's license, but you do. Well, if she doesn't need a license, why do you need a license? But anyways, I'm talking to the one young guy kind of what I was talking to. He can't give me legal advice. I said, yeah, okay, I get that. This is the Law Society of Upper Canada, but you are not a lawyer, so therefore you can't give me legal advice. So I finally got him put me through to a supervisor, and Allison called back from that office, and we were having a chat, and she said, well, it's that's your opinion. I said, well, it can't be my opinion because that would be a legal opinion. That means I'm breaking a freaking law. The fact of the matter is the justices are not lawyers, and it says that they are forbidden from giving legal opinions or legal advice or any other kind of legal. And so how is it they're sitting on the bench, ruining people's lives when they have no capacity in law whatsoever? And the Crown attorneys know these guys ain't lawyers. They know they can't adjudicate law. So now I've been talking to these people about this for months, well, maybe a couple years now. And today, this lady says to me that there's a clause in the Law Society Act that allows the Chief Justice to appoint people who are not legally knowledgeable to sit into POA courts, with traffic courts, but they also set bails. They also hold bail. So they have a lot of duties there, which really can impact. They have the ability to incarcerate you, but they have no training in law or the legal system. But there they sit. And I said, well, that's fine. I said, if a guy that is prohibited, which it says in this document, prohibited from giving legal advice or opinion, and they're sitting on the bench ruining people's lives daily, then I guess it's okay for me to go hang a shingle or a sign out my front lawn and sell legal advice. Because that's what this guy's doing. He's given legal opinions in the court, the so-called court, which is nothing more than a money laundering scheme, and or an extraction scheme. And every time he finds somebody guilty of something or incarcerates somebody, he gets paid for it, even though he doesn't have the capacity, no knowledge, no nothing. He's getting paid for it. So I can't see why I can't go give legal advice and put up a sign and charge for legal advice. Well, if you do that, you'll get charged. Wait a minute. If I do it, I'll get charged. But the guy sitting on the bench, he's not even charging for legal advice. He's destroying people's lives. He's getting a paycheck. Well, you really can't do that. And so I read her, if I can find that, I read her what's on the Attorney General's site. God, I hope I can dig that out because it's brilliant. Oh, where are we at here? Anyways, the whole freaking world's gone stupid. We got to get out from underneath this commercial legal system somehow, some way. Okay, this is the Ontario Court of Justice. Now, the Chief Justice name is Lisa Maisonneuve. Chief Justice, Ontario Court of Justice. And she's got a big smile on her face. She's happier than hell. She's got a little black stuff on her, white tie here, and her little red thing over her shoulder, her ribbon. And welcome, it says, by the Chief Justice. And she's so pleased with herself, and this is what she has to say. Daily, Our judges and justices of the peace deliver independent, impartial, and timely justice to thousands of people who come before the Ontario Court of Justice in more than 200 locations across the province. I know so many people that are not getting impartial or timely any kind of justice, but she's got such a happy smile on her face. I'll let her slide on that one. But she's so pleased with herself and the justice system. This year in Ontario, the Ontario Court of Justice, the busiest in Canada, because we have the biggest population, will deal with approximately 500,000 adult and youth criminal charges and hear millions of provincial offense matters such as traffic tickets and serve more than 20,000 families in a year. And the delivery, to deliver the highest level of service to the people of Ontario, we're committed to making our court open, accessible, and responsive to their needs. It ain't open. Most of the courthouses are locked down now. Accessible, maybe a wheelchair ramp, and responsive. I know so many people are getting assaulted in these courts. It's nuts. But hey, she's got a big smile. But then maybe she was up at the bomb factory or the RCM bomb school. Maybe Lisa was running around naked up there with the bomb boys. Who knows? Our website provides a collection of guides, tools, and information we hope will be helpful to litigants, students, teachers, members of the media, legal professionals, academic, and lastly, the public. Definition of public is everybody, is the government. And the public, because they don't recognize you, the breathing man or woman, when they're referring to the public, they're referring to the legal entity called a person. That's the public. And they have made that entity responsible to the rules and regulations, not the man or the woman. They cannot rule over the man and woman because legal is commercial and commercial is paper. They tag you as the agent, and you think you're defending yourself. All you're doing is that they didn't give you the ticket. They can't give you the ticket because they don't recognize you. And you don't know you're the agent. I mean, a lot of the people listening here know they're the agents, but the average Joe out there has no clue. Anyways, I love what this. I read this to the Allison at the Law Society today, and I said I just love this, because she says, well, we have to interpret the law. Really, what's that supposed to mean? And where is that thing here? I read this to her. And I said, this is right off the Attorney General's site. This is the Attorney General's talking here, Attorney General talking here. And the Chief Law Officer of the Executive Council. And it says here that as Chief Law Officer, the Attorney General has a special responsibility to be the guardian of that most elusive concept, the rule of law. The rule of law is a well-established legal principle, but hard to easily define. And I read that, and I said, it's an elusive concept. Now, if you look up concept, you will find that it ends up at conceive, which ends up at conceit, which ends up at holy jumpins, debit and credit. Not debit and credit, but shoot. What was that? I have to go find that again. But anyways, what it is, it's a con. That's basically elusive concept. When you go to etymology and you look up those two words, it's con game. And if you look up legal jargon, jargon is a language that is only known by a group or a society, which is the law society, which would be legalese in their case, which is used to confuse and deceive and gain an upper hand. And they say that the law system, the legal system, is there for our benefit, because it goes on to say it is the rule of law that protects individuals and society as a whole from the arbitrary measures and safeguards personal liberties. If you go through and you read and understand, I was talking to her about law, the difference between law and legal, and she really didn't want to know too much about that. Of course, she already knows about it. I also told her, I said, well, if it's an elusive concept in the rule of law, if you look up the rule of law in the legal dictionary, it says that it's what's the word I'm looking for? Anyways, it's just basically like this guy said, hard to nail down. And it said it gives three ideas of what the rule of law are, and the last one being that the principles and supremacy of the higher power supersede all man-written legal laws. And I told her that if we're talking about it's the interpretation of law, which legal has nothing to do with law. Okay, so the rule of law is an ambiguous statement. That's what I'm looking for. But it's not true, because law isn't legal. And what these people are jamming us with is legal, which is commercial, because they're a corporation. So these are corporate rules, regulations, and bylaws of the corporation. That has nothing whatsoever to do with law. No wonder it's such a elusive concept for these lawyers, because it has to be an elusive concept because it's fraudulent. So I said to her, I said, okay, if we're going to talk about the interpretation because it's such a elusive concept, then let's go back over to the preamble of the Constitution and Charter, and it says right there, based on the principles and supremacy of God. And then if you go over to the legal part of law, where it says ambiguous, you will see also there that it says the principles and that of a higher power supersede or precede all of the anything that any man-written law in the legal system. So my interpretation of the law is much better than yours. And I'm trying to be in law, but you're trying to hold everybody in the legal system, because in the law system, you can't steal from them. In law, the government has no capacity to steal. And we all know what the bottom line of a corporation is, and that's a generation of funds, of which they are using us to do so. I even went as far as to say to her, I said, you're a bright lady. I mean, you're at the Law Society of Upper Canada. You're the regulators of the lawyers, and so on and so forth. So this legal system we're in, this corporate system we're in, these jackasses that are in the legislature, or in the House, if you want to call it, should be the nut house. But these people have been, they legislated for themselves a no-limit credit card. Okay? It doesn't matter what they spend. They're not responsible for anything they do. They're not responsible for anything they spend. They are not responsible for anything. So you, Allison, how would you feel? How would you be happy if, I said, okay, I went and got a credit card and I'm going to just buy whatever I want with it, but I'm putting you on the hook for it. Okay, I have no responsibility to pay this back the way I got this credit card laid out here. So you, Allison, are on the hook for whatever I spend. Whenever I spend it, I'm not responsible for it. You are. Okay? How do you like that? Because that's legal. And that's exactly what these so-called governments are. Okay? So we're on the hook. So as somebody at the Law Society, you ought to be pissed right off. And why you call it the Law Society anyways, I don't know, because it ain't got nothing to do with law. The Queen, that's what I told her. The Queen took an oath to uphold the law. But the Queen's also at the apex of the legal and political systems. The legal and political systems are commercial. They're corporate. So, you know, for you at the Law Society, call for what you're doing law, that's fraud, because you're not in law, because the law states, do not add to or take away from my word, which is the law. That's law. It's not commercial. Do no harm. It's not commercial. If you do cause harm, your job is to restore back to as close as possible before the harm was done. That's law. You're not in law. You're not of law. You got nothing to do with law. So the fact that you call yourself the Law Society is a fraud. It's a criminal act. It's fraud. It's deception. It's there to deceive people into believing that you have something to do with law, which you don't. Because if you had something to do with law, you wouldn't be pulling this poor jackass over with his pedal missing off of his e-bike and trying to dump $11,000 worth of fines on his ass. If you were in law, you wouldn't be putting up with this RCMP nonsense. There's all kinds of incidents in this country of sexual abuse by police officers. There's all kinds of evidence in this thing about police shooting innocent people, police shooting unarmed people, police shooting people when they weren't really endangered, police beating people up, police tasering the hell out of people. Every one of these things is doing harm, and every one of those things is against the frickin' law. Around and you let these jackasses go, or you reprimand them with a slap on the wrist or desk duty, and somebody's life has been ruined, some family's life has been ruined, and you call it law. And you know why you never show any remorse? Simple. If you go back and you look up legalization, it says it's amoral. That's why the courts never show any remorse. That's why the police, when they really hurt somebody or kill somebody, show no remorse. Okay? Because it's an amoral system. It's a commercial system. It's a paper system. Paper doesn't have a moral value. Law, on the other hand, does. Very specific, says do no harm. Treat your neighbor as you wish to be treated. The basic is do no harm. To turn around and do all the harm this commercial legal system does to people, and then turn around and have the audacity to refer to it as law. You can't get much lower than that. You can't get much more snake-like than that. But then the legal system is an adversarial system. Okay? The courts are adversarial courts, adversaries. You look up adversary, doesn't matter where you look it up, the word Satan's going to pop up. Back in the old days, when they apprenticed to be attorneys, the apprenticeship was called deviling. We got to quit putting up with this garbage. We got to put our foot down here somewhere. But I'm going to continue on with these people, and we're going to get this worked out yet, because as I told them, I have no intention whatsoever of paying these fines, but I do have every intention of getting back on the road, because your people, have taken away, arbitrarily, mind you, and the Attorney General says here, that protects individuals and society as a whole from arbitrary measures. Well, what you've done to me is absolutely arbitrary. What you've done to Michael Schmidt is arbitrary. What you did to Montana Jones and her sheep is absolutely arbitrary. You're a bunch of freaking liars. You're a bunch of con artists. You use jargon, which is the language of the con man. And you make yourselves not responsible for it. You pass legislation so that when people get sick from these GMOs or animals and somebody's pet or worse still, somebody's child goes down because of a vaccine, the vaccine makers are legislated not to be liable. And you call yourselves the law? Your entire legal system would be wrapped up and thrown in the garbage can. And we can't allow this to continue on. I mean, we have 15 million people in this province thereabouts. We have about 30-some thousand active lawyers. 800 of those are in the Attorney General's office. They have floors and floors and floors and floors of attorney who do nothing but screw with wording, and so on and so forth. Like when I told this lady, Allison, at the Law Society that the word responsible, we gave you responsible government. We didn't enact responsible government. Somebody gave it to us. But then you read on, you find out the word responsible in responsible government, the responsible part doesn't mean what the definition of responsible says it means. And when I told her I was talking to the Ministry of Corrections and Safety, and I got somebody said they were safety, and I said, great, what do you guys do? It's safety. I get the corrections part. What's the safety part? Oh, well, we do things. Well, what kind of things? Well, things. No, I don't know what kind of things. Tell me. Well, so I read her the definition of safety. There, that's safety. Is this what you do? Well, no. Well, this is the definition of safety. Yeah, well, the definition of the word safety isn't what this is. It's safety, but it's not that. We just like the word, and it has nothing to do with the definition whatsoever. We just thought it went well, corrections and safety. But the word safety has absolutely nothing to do with the meaning of the word safety, just like responsible. Government, the responsible part has nothing to do with the definition of responsible. Con game from the bottom to the frickin' top, and we have got to start to dismantle this thing, plain and simple. We have a duty to do so, because what they got coming at us, you ain't seen nothing yet. And last word before I get out of here tonight, if you do have an e-bike, make damn sure that your pedals are on it. I guess we've got a precedent now that stupid cops can't get away with this. But the fact that the ticket was written, the cop should have been charged with intimidation, harassment, false issuing of a ticket that should have never been issued. The gentleman that had to go to court and was extremely nervous and shook up about it and intimidated by it. Was he compensated for his time? No. She let him off the tickets, but then said, we like to make money here, so you forgot to change your address. Give me $75. Really freaking pathetic. And that's got to get changed. I hear music coming in here, so I'm going to get out of here.
Selling lies and buying time, killing people next in line. Lower classes, social slime, they don't matter. Genocide, sick from water, sick from air. Making money, they don't care. Caesar shit, force of air. Fuck them back, it's only for they bomb. They shoot, they kill, they massacre, rape, they burn the kids. No one makes countries lie to your face, fight and die. Cause God forgives.
This is Ozzy Skateboard, and you're listening to